Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Welcome to the MMA Opinion Podcast. My name is Liam O'Griffin. I'm joined as always by Mr. Paul O'D.
On this week's episode, we are going to talk about the IMAF CEO's comments on UFC's contribution to professional athletes' brain health study, Michael Bisping going under the knife again, and Max Holloway by the numbers.
We're also going to do a bit of a deep dive on UFC Fight Island 8 card. So lots to be getting on with. Let's be getting on.
I want to fight with Chuck. Chuck.
I think he just blew his wad there.
Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck.
Are you still drunk right now? Are you still drunk? What's going on?
This is Bruce Lee shit.
I was trying to get out before the Frank Mir one. Poor fucking Frank Mir.
You have to let Frank Mir have it every week now.
Sure, look.
I said on this week's episode as well, there's about 4 episodes this week.
So yeah, we have a busy one to get on with. So we're going to start with a few news items anyway to start us off.
Yeah, so I suppose just touching on, it's kind of relevant at the moment, the brain health studies that the UFC are contributing towards, and the Cleveland Health Studies, and the IMAF CEO. He made a comment on the UFC's contribution and on the work that they're doing. If you just want to pull that up there, and we'll give it a little flick.
So it's on screen there. So this is on the IMAF website, so imaf.org. IMAF is the worldwide amateur body that is running what would be the equivalent of the Olympics for MMA.
Trying to get recognised for the Olympics, but yes, yeah,
exactly. Very, very well supported by the UFC. The UFC is one of their funding partners, and the IMAF CEO is Denzine White, and he had this article on the website, just kind of giving an update as to what's going on here. But we talked about this with Max Holloway and
Calvin Cater.
Jesus.
Can't be gone out of your memory already.
It's my own CTE. That's what's happening. So this whole thing is, I mean, like, we're talking about fighters taking heavy damage over the period of their career, and the long-term effects it has on brain health, and CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy, I think it's what it's called. But it's basically, if you want like a kind of a quintessential example, think of Muhammad Ali. I know there was Parkinson in there as well, but there's a high degree of CTE.
And the Parkinson's is directly linked to the CTE. They believe
it can be, or it can also be like coincidental. But yeah, I mean, like we know from boxing, like, punch drunkenness is a thing.
Yeah.
So CTE, and it's been identified in other sports that have heavy kind of contact as well. So like we talked about NFL, bull riding, Formula 1, even soccer.
Rugby is a massive one.
Huge. American football, yeah, and rugby.
I'd like just touching on this, like the UFC have pledged, and they're giving, I believe it's $1 million every year for a prolonged period of time, or whatever the actual deal they have is. But we discussed, like, $1 million, it does seem like a small amount of money, but for an organization like this that are running trials, it is big money. And to be fair to the UFC, they're the only ones proactively trying to change this. The NFL did it, and they've invested money in it, but that was after years of covering it up, and they got found out, and there was backlash, and eventually, to save face, they started investing in this. I think what the UFC is doing is commendable, and being involved in it from the off.
Yeah.
Now, there are arguments that the Spencer Fisher case, and people saying that they tried to cover that up for years, but look, it is what it is. It's going to be in the sport, we know that, but if there's trials done, hopefully to a lesser degree.
Well, the thing about it is that it's so hard to diagnose, because the effects don't happen until long after the fighter is usually retired. Do you know? I mean, like, there's so I've been to talks about this, because we've had in Ireland, we've had a death in MMA. So for a number of years, we were all kind of like hyper vigilant about this type of thing, and the neurologists in the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland were very very good to kind of give us a lot of information about this, in particular Professor Dan Healy. And he like the whole thing about this is that like there's 4 stages to CTE, and the first 2 there are no physical symptoms. You can't tell.
Jesus.
And the thing about it as well is the slow rot. Once you start stage 1, there's no stopping stage 2, 3, and 4. You can't stop it. You cannot stop it. Some fighters will get it like in their 20s. Some fighters might not get it until in their 40s and 50s. Some might never get it at all. And
every individual case is massively different.
It's totally different. And then the thing about it is that this research is kind of going into it's doing a deep dive on like what can affect the outcome of CTE over a longer period of time. So they've taken hundreds. I think it's 800.
800 active and retired fighters. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a very, very important study. And I mean, if we can get even to the point of like some advice as to how like maybe fighters should take a minimum amount of time off between fights, or they shouldn't spar this much, or they should avoid this, or eat more of this, or whatever helps. So I know it. I mean, as you say, it is a drop in the ocean with regards to the funding from the UFC, but it's a positive step and it's welcome.
No, definitely. And look, even if this creates guidelines for every athletic commission to work from, and that they're all on the same page, if that's the end result of it, it's certainly a positive thing. And the fact that they're working with so many fighters and creating individual plans for those and treating them as individuals.
Yep.
It's important that they know that, especially the active fighters, when to leave it off and when to train exactly.
Yep. So we also had, like, talking about medical stuff, we also had Mr. Bisping, poor fucker.
Back under the knife again since his career ended.
Yeah, so this tweet went up there just 2 days ago. He's having an anterior cervical discectomy. So that's those discs. We were talking only about, you were talking to Nate Quarry, who had a disc replacement surgery using this kind of like a plastic Lego brick to replace his disc between 2 of his vertebrae. So it was interesting that this came up because Bisping, obviously, I mean, talk about a fighter that's been through the wars. He's lost an eye.
Yeah.
He's had multiple back surgeries. He's had knee surgeries. He's had like elbow surgery. This dude has literally broken his body to within an inch of his life. Now, thankfully, he has made his fortune. He has made his money. He's not wanting for money. He has his faculties about him. He has his analyst job with the UFC, and you know, he continues to be a personality. But there's so many other fighters that as Nate Quarry said, are broke and broken.
Yeah. And I suppose it's you're trying to find examples of the cautionary tale to people that are on the wrong side of this, the retirement, and the ones that fought too long, their injuries are plaguing them, and that they don't have the money to pay for the medical expenses, etc. Luckily, like you say, he is one of the examples that the money is there. You just worry, look, down the road, I mean, you look at Michael Bisping's career, he was in some wars. The Dan Henderson knockout being a prime example of someone
100%
who down the road, like, he has had massive concussions throughout his career.
Yep.
Hopefully, look, obviously all going well, that he's not affected by it. But you see the troubles his body has been put through, what everybody's mind, but his body has been put through as a result of fighting, and it's kind of alarming.
The interesting thing here, I thought I had it on screen, but I don't have it on screen, but like, it's just coincidental, but Nate Quarry actually after you interviewing him during the week, Nate Quarry was one of the first people to comment under Michael Bisping's Twitter post, just offering him some advice, and if he needed somebody to reach out and touch base with about the surgery, he was very familiar with it. So another example of why Nate's a good
stand-up guy. Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose we get on to some more positive stuff. And Max Holloway again, and we're not going to harp on for another hour on Max this time, but just we came across something interesting on Twitter again, and it's on the MMA by the Numbers handle, and they're a brilliant Twitter handle to follow. But they pulled up this thing where it's the significant strikes landed against significant strikes thrown Venn diagram in since UFC 28. Yeah, incredible.
So so the graphic is basically a load of dots on an X and Y axis, and there's 2 dots that are out on their own, and you never guess who those 2 dots belong to. Just showing like how far ahead of the tribe he is in terms of significant strikes and
with volume
and yeah,
scary stuff.
I mean, look at that, like up the top far right there. That was obviously the most recent fight against Calvin Kattar.
It's setting a new standard, one that can't be met either.
Like the second one to the left of that, or the one right in the middle of the screen, that's his
Max's
one against Brian Ortega. But like there is the same, like it's almost halfway down the chart before you get to anybody else.
Yeah, it is.
That is absolutely mental.
Yeah, the guy's a freak.
Mental.
An absolute freak.
And that's a phenomenal graphic by MMA by the Numbers as well. So go check them out on Twitter and give them a follow.
Yep. We better talk about some fights. I actually, when I first looked at this card, I was a little bit hesitant. I thought it looked a bit dog shit, but you dig a little bit deeper and actually go through some of the fights. They're well-matched fights, and it's one of these cards that's a bit of a sleeper. We had a lot of these cards last year that on paper didn't look like they were going to be great cards, but they all produced. The vast majority of them produced, and this is another one that looks to me like there's no big names jumping off the page, but there's a lot of very fun fights on this card.
Mm-hmm. So we go from the top down. Do you want to just mention out some of the fights that are interesting to you, and we'll come back and have a deep dive on a few that we want to talk about then.
Yeah, no problem. Look, just I'll breeze through the prelims, Mr. Tom Breeze in the feature prelim.
I have a sound effect for that. I think I deleted it. Yeah, I deleted it.
I mean, I think the moment was definitely gone anyway, Liam.
Well, but you could edit it afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. We'll add that in, guys. Wait for it on the YouTube version. But yes, we have in the feature prelim, we have Omari Ahmedabad versus Tom Breeze, and one of the fights that I'm very interested in. You have Ahmedabad, who's been active in the UFC, 8-4-1 overall, against Breeze, who's been relatively inactive in the UFC, but has looked damn impressive.
That jab knockout in his last fight was
KB Buller. Yeah, that was absolutely phenomenal. The power that man has in his hands, and especially at middleweight, he just looks like it's perfect weight for him. He doesn't look like he's cutting too much. He looks like a unit at middleweight. Yep. His only losses in the UFC to Sean Strickland and Arnold Allen.
Yep. 2 guys that are riding high,
and 2 guys that there's a lot of volume. Ahmedabad will bring it to him, and I can imagine that he's looked at that and he knows the blueprint is there. It's just whether he can stay there and handle the power of Tom Breeze. I'd lean towards Breeze in this one, but it's certainly a very interesting fight. Mm-hmm. Going on, you have Ricky Simone versus Gaetano Pirillo. I didn't know too much about Gaetano Pirillo until I did a bit of homework on him, but very interesting. He's making his UFC debut off the back of a 2-fight win streak. And the guy finishes people. 15-5-1 overall, 14 finishes. The guy just he doesn't intend on going to the judges. He wants to get in there and finish people. Ricky Simone is at a stop-start UFC career, 4-2 overall. Most latest fight, beat Ray Borg. But yeah, he's one of those flashy fighters. He likes to get involved in dirty fights and wild fights. I think that's a bad stylistic matchup for someone of Gaetano Pirillo's finishing ability. I just see this being one that ends early. Either Simone catches him, or Pirillo gets him out of there in his debut. Mm-hmm. Next up, you have Sumuderji versus Zaruk Adashev. Now, this to me is a bit of a mismatch. Zaruk Adashev has an overall record of 3-2. Mm-hmm. Lost his professional debut, but then he had 3 wins in Bellator, 3 on the bounce. Left Bellator and signed with UFC and lost his last one, his debut to Tyson Nam. Now, Tyson Nam is no joke. Tyson Nam has finished a lot of people on this card, actually. But you're going up against a guy, Sumuderji, who looked phenomenal in his last bout. Got a huge KO over Malcolm Gordon. He has a win over Sukumtat, 2 wins in the bounce in the UFC after losing his debut. Mm-hmm. I think this is a complete mismatch. I think Sumuderji runs through him. I think he finishes him quite early. Going down the card at light heavyweight, you have Dolce Gambola versus Marcus Perez. Very fun fight. Another possible finish here. And you'd have to lean with the newcomer Gambola. Perez has kind of had a tough enough record in the UFC, 2-4, but they're all exciting. He's one of those guys. He's on a 2-loss streak, but he's one of those guys. It'd be hard to cut him because he's entertaining to watch. His weigh-ins are even entertaining when he's allowed to do the Joker makeup and all that. And then, of course, you have Davison Figueiredo's baby brother is making his UFC debut.
Yeah, Francisco, yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Trying to find him on the card.
Yeah, he is 11-3-1 overall, and he's coming in against Jerome Vieira, who's also last losses to Tyson Nam. He's a Dana White Contender Series alum, and the guy has 7 subs on his record. Now, the worry here is that Francisco Figueiredo is a big puncher and a lot of finishes in his 11 fights, 10 finishes, I believe, in his 11 fights. Mm-hmm. If Jerome doesn't get this to the ground early, he could be going night-night. You have Mike Davis against Mason Jones, which is a phenomenal fight. We had a chat with Mike Davis during the week, and we have an interview up on the page if you want to check it out. He's 1-1 in the UFC overall, but I believe this is the fight where he gets to showcase his skill set. He lost his debut to Gilbert Burns, believe it or not, at lightweight. He's a Dana White Contender Series alum. He lost to Sadiq Youssef similarly to a submission. But the guy on the feet is trouble. And Mason Jones, 10-0, former Cage Warriors double champ. He likes to stand and bang with people, so this could be playing to Mike Davis' strengths. But then again, Jones looks phenomenal, so either way. Then you have Khabib's cousin, Umar Nurmagomedov, 12-0, 5 subs, 7 decisions, making his debut against Sergey Morozov, 16-4, also making his debut. And he lost his last fight. I think this is a bit of a feeder fight.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, 100%. Like, even Morozov is 16-4.
God damn.
But the guys he's fought aren't as impressive as Umar, I'll put it that way.
Yep.
I just see Umar running through him. I reckon it goes to a decision. I reckon that's one of the bets of the week, Umar to win by decision. And in the first fight of the night, you have Victoria Leonardo going out against Marion Ferro. I don't know how to pronounce it. 8-3 versus 7-1. Don't know too much about either girl. Leonardo certainly has the experience advantage. She has 6 fights in Invicta and 1 in Bellator. And she won her Dana White Contender Series fight in her last one. But Fioro is on a 7-fight win streak with 5 KOs.
7 fights. She's only 5-1. How does she get?
She's had 7. Yeah.
Oh, she's got she's lost to Leah McCourt.
Yeah.
Did you say that? Or was I not paying attention?
No, I didn't say that. That's her one loss. No, she's 7 fights, alright. I don't know if 2 of them weren't classed as pro, but they were middle of her career. And they certainly weren't exhibitions. So. Yeah,
there's 2 exhibition bouts according to Tapology here.
Not exhibition if they're in the middle of your pro career. Unless they're the Ultimate Fighter or maybe 2-round fights or something like that. But
the Fighter Season 2, whatever that is.
In South Africa, that's what Will Fleury was on.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So she's 5-1, but she finished both opponents and the Fighter as well. So
okay.
Yeah, but she looks impressive. So there's some very interesting fights down there. No, I didn't want to get into them too much, but yeah, it's a good enough card.
Yeah, obviously, coming from the European side, we're very interested to see how Mason Jones is going to do.
Yeah,
I mean he's coming. He's basically repeated what McGregor did just before he signed for the UFC in becoming the dual
double
featherweight
champ
and lightweight champ. Just recently.
Well, it was lightweight and welterweight.
Are you sure?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. I bow down to your superior knowledge.
But a lightweight and welterweight, and he's a natural lightweight. He went up and he finished both those guys in the first round and looked damn impressive doing it. Yeah, he's going to look, if he hits the ground running and gets a couple of wins under his belt in the UFC, he's going to be a huge name. But like this matchup now right off the bat is going to be a tough one. I know on paper it doesn't look like that, but if you go back and look at Mike Davis's earlier fights, the style of fight suits him a lot better than what we've seen of him. So yeah, it could be a very interesting one.
And you have high hopes for Sumuderji as well.
Sumuderji looks like an absolute killer. And again, if there's a few guys on this card that if you look at their record, it doesn't look that impressive. So Sumuderji being one is 2-1 in the UFC, but looks a killer. You have Gambola, who's 1-1 in the UFC, but looks a killer at light heavyweight. And then you have Francisco Figueiredo, Mason Jones, Omari Ahmedabad, all making their debut, and they all look like they could be future ranked fighters quite quickly as well.
So this is a card like certainly not to sleep on. Keep an eye on this. This could end up being on a table quiz at some point.
Yeah, and from the hype that I'm hearing about the French girl Marion Fiorot, she's one not to miss as well early on in the card. So
awesome.
From the jump, from the very first 6 fights, 4 of those guys I've mentioned are on it, and the girl. There's actually, I don't think there's one bad fight on this card. Oh wait, there's one bad fight in this card. I found it.
All right.
On paper, there's one bad fight in this card if you look at it. Yeah. But that's way up in the main card as well. The prelims are fire.
Right.
Go on, have a guess.
You're not talking about Roxanne Matafari, are you?
No, absolutely not.
That's going to be a great fight.
Plus, Viviane Araújo looks a serious contender there at flyweight, so that's definitely not the bad fight.
Yeah, I'm a big Roxanne fan.
Yeah, she's an OG.
Yeah, she's just like the perennial underdog who just keeps on trucking.
And Roxanne has wins over Barb Honchak. If you don't know who Barb Honchak is, she's one of the OGs. You've win over Macy Barber, win over Antonina Shevchenko. She's been in there with the very, very best of them, and she improves every single time as well.
And then she stepped in last minute for the final of the flyweight, the first flyweight one against
Sijara Eubanks, I think. No,
she
Eubanks.
replaced Sijara Eubanks. I can't remember the name of the girl that she fought, but she was in the final after, and that was her second run on the Ultimate Fighter as well. So
yeah,
you know, I'm a big Roxanne fan,
huge fan. The Happy Warrior.
So, which of the main event fights do you want to break down?
I think look at the Lerone Murphy. We'll start from the bottom of the card. Lerone Murphy versus Douglas Silva de Andraj. What a phenomenal fight! Both of these guys actually have fought Tukugov, the man who punched McGregor in the back of the head.
Oh, nice!
Jumped the cage. Lerone Murphy had a draw against him in his UFC debut, and Tukugov actually beat Douglas Andrade de Silva. So Andrade de Silva's 2 losses of late have been to Tukugov and Rob Font, and Tukugov was up at featherweight as well. But he's beaten Henan Barrow. The guy looks very impressive. Oh, sorry, he lost to Yan as well. He's only 3 losses. Yeah, I like this fight. I think Lerone Murphy is definitely one to watch out for in the future, but he's really got his work cut out for him here. Interesting matchup.
So before that, you have Tyson Nam, Matt Schnell.
Yeah,
or after that, sorry.
Yeah, another massive one there. I'm not sure if this one is at flyweight or bantamweight. You might check that one out.
It's written down as flyweight.
Flyweight, yeah. I don't particularly like Tyson Nam down at flyweight. I think he's an absolute killer up at bantamweight. Look, if he makes the cut and he looks good there, he'd even arguably be a bigger hitter down there. But big wins over Jimmy Rivera and Adashev in his last 2, and that turned around the 2-fight skid after his debut. So he's looking good. And then you have Matt Schnell, who lost to Pantoja after a 4-fight win streak, and beat some big guys as well. You Jordan Espinosa, Inoue, Louis Smolka.
Yep.
So another good fight. And those the flyweight division and the bantamweight division are just on fire at the moment.
Yep. Yeah,
all those guys, and they're interesting fights to watch. I don't know, for whatever reason, I think it was just maybe Mighty Mouse was kind of lording that division that people lost interest in it.
I suppose it was just that he was so far ahead of everybody else.
Yeah,
that there was just no good matchups there, or no entertaining matchups there, or nothing that seemed that he was going to get derailed.
Yeah, but it just seems they're all fantastic matchups, and the movement and the skill level in there is frightening. 1 straight down to 15 and beyond. Then, of course, you have the Happy Warrior versus Viviane Araújo. Yep. I don't like this fight for Matafari, but she's game as all hell.
There's no fight when they're going into it that Roxanne has any chance in. Like she's literally got she's never given a chance for any fight. She's never the favorite.
Yeah.
But she always just hangs in there, and you know, if anybody makes a mistake, she's there to capitalize on it.
And if you go back to the Macy Barber fight last year, and all the talk after the fight was the Macy Barber injury.
And the human MRI machine.
The human MRI machine, the fucking doctor. But it takes away from the fact that before the injury, Modafferi was dominating that fight. Got her to the ground and was out grappling her and just looked sensational. I think she would have won the fight regardless of injury, the way things were going. But yeah, so look, she's always going to be tough. She's always going to be game. But I think this Hiroja girl has potential to be a contender very soon.
All right, is this the crap one now you're talking about?
No, we're moving to the light heavyweights. The one look, it's not even a terrible fight. I'm just not that keen on it. I'm really not that keen on it. You've got a guy who's 0-2 in the UFC against a guy who's got a 3-fight win skid.
All right, so who's on to this?
Isaac Villanueva, yeah. Losses to Jordan Wright and Chase Sherman. Before that, he was on a 4-fight win streak, but that's coming into the UFC. Argument would dictate he's kind of that he doesn't belong there. No, I could be proven wrong, and maybe it was jitters. But when you get a guy that goes 0-2 in the UFC, and with a record like he has as well, it's not like he was a big killer outside the UFC. 17-9 coming in. And he's coming up against a guy who was 9-4, lost his last 3. The one thing I will say for Castro is his last 3 fights were Eric Anders, Paul Craig, and Alonzo Minifield. They're tough fights. And he did have a sub win on Dana White's Contender Series and a 5-fight win streak culminating in that. Yeah, I can't be on board.
You're just not excited. Fight. Yeah, it's not that exciting. I agree.
I don't like the matchmaking of putting guys that those losers leave town fights up high on the card.
On the card, yeah. No, I agree.
Put them in the prelims. Put them early on the prelims and goes, guys, right, you're in the UFC, but you're opening the card. You're on Fight Pass. You're on whatever. Having them second or next to the co-main.
It's not like they're hometown guys either.
No. It's
they're
just
all in Abu Dhabi, so.
It's maybe because they're bigger guys. They always try and have a light heavyweight fight further up the card. But what I can't understand then is you have the Lungyambula fight against Marcus Perez. 2 entertaining guys. Why aren't they that fight if that is the case?
Yeah.
I don't particularly like the fight, and I certainly don't like the position of the fight.
Okay, so we have co-main and main. So we start off with the co-main.
Yeah.
So we have Warley Alves. This is basically a kickboxer versus kickboxer, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we have Warley Alves, who he's been around the UFC for a little bit.
Quite a while, yeah.
He's kind of inconsistent of late. A win, loss, kind of in the last 4.
And he's never fought consecutively a lot of fights. Like, he's never been really active since signing. When did he sign?
So he's made his debut against signed down here in 2014. So
2014, 11 fights.
Marcio Alexander Jr. Yeah,
he had a few fights maybe in 2016, 17, but
yeah,
we haven't seen much of him since.
He handed Colby Covington his first loss in the UFC, and that was one of 3 guillotines in that period. So this dude definitely has a guillotine anyway.
Yeah, and we were looking at Munar Lazzez and his takedown attempts. And he does tend to go for a single or double with the head to the outside.
Yep, exactly. So Munar Lazzez, another kickboxer coming from the Abu Dhabi kind of Middle East route. So we have a bunch. Sorry, I meant to put this up on screen there. So there he is.
Just my mug again.
So like he's come through last 3 promotions outside the UFC he fought for were UAE Warriors, Brave, and Pro Bellum. So that's a kind of a circuit of its own there that seems to be becoming a feeder, a very popular feeder route for guys to get to the UFC.
And the guys that are coming out of there look tested. Like there's no guy that's coming out of there that is getting in there and looks completely out of their depth right off the bat. They seem to be coming now. The obvious examples stand out, or Hamzat and a few more, but that. Obviously, there was massive hype trains behind them anyway. But there's a few that went under the radar that came in from Brave and came in from UAE Warriors and have looked very good and silently going about their business. but they don't look out of their depth in there. It's tough competition they're facing over there.
So like his last there on his record is to Eldarov. Like Elder is one of the main coaches in the KHK team. Like this dude is like a legend over in Brave and in Bahrain in general. And as far as I know, he's the current. Yeah, so they fought for a vacant catchweight championship here, but he's still a champion in Brave. Yeah. So no shame losing to him.
Absolutely not.
His UFC debut was against Al Hassan, and like we watched it a little bit earlier, and the strikes that he absorbed from Al Hassan, he had no business being standing at the end of that.
Yeah.
Has
a chin on him. And he's good striking pedigree striker as well.
I said that just before you said I may have been giving him too much high praise, but he has that kind of slick striking style, like a younger Israel Adesanya.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit kind of more technical. Izzy is a bit kind of slinkier.
You're saying, first off, you're saying he's like Israel Adesanya, which isn't high praise enough. You're saying he's a bit more technical than Adesanya. You're gonna have to back that up.
Well, I think what I mean is that Izzy is a kind of like he's more very loose, free flowing. Exactly. He has learned all the rules and now can break the rules. Whereas Lazzez is kind of at the stage where he's still perfectly following all the rules, and he's got some long knees, he's got some good strikes, good leg kicks, good body kicks, good head kicks. He's just a great striker, and he's actually training with, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, he's in the Team Nogueira, which of course Cork fighter John Mitchell is training there also as well. So be interesting to watch his second fight, and
he was known as the head kick guy early on in his career. He's got a few head kicks on his record. I like the fight, but I think Lazzez has a little bit too much for Warley on the feet. Warley lost his last one to Randy Brown, who all respect to Randy Brown. I don't think he's top level. So if that's the benchmark we're marking Warley Alves off, I think it's not the toughest night at the office for Lazzez on his second one. I would probably rate Abdul Razak Al Hassan a little bit higher than that. Alves has come out. Alves did an interview there on Fight Island, and he said that he's going to reach his potential and he sees himself as a future champ at 170. So I mean, the guy has belief in himself. It's going to be a close one, but I would lean towards Lazzez if it stays on the feet.
I have just a sneaking suspicion that we're going to see another guillotine from Warley Alves.
But do you think Lazzez will go for the takedown knowing that he's a guillotine specialist?
Yeah, good point.
Like the only way I can see Lazzez going for the takedown is if he's forced to do so because he's being outmatched in the strikes. Yeah,
if he gets hurt. I mean, like the two of them are kickboxers, so I mean,
he could certainly hurt him and make him shoot. That could be the game plan. Throw something big that's not expected and make him shoot. But I don't know. I just think if it comes down to a kickboxing fight, I think Lazzez has a little bit too much for him.
All right, so we're going opposite sides in that one. So someone's doing burpees.
Oh Jesus!
Although we haven't done our burpees.
We haven't done it. I've done 6 burpees out of the possible 120. I'd say that I still owe them. Like,
but that was the whole of 2020 as well.
Yeah.
COVID and all, like lockdown and everything. You had no excuse. You managed 6.
Well, look at the size of me. That's about all I could do.
All right, so main event: Chiesa, Magny. I mean, what are we talking about here? Are these guys going to break into the top 5? Top 5, top 10. Are they 2 or 3 fights away from title shots?
See,
whereabouts are we? Like,
this is the tricky one, like, because if you look at the two of them, 3-5 win streaks, both, and you look at the guys that are winning fights at the moment, like Dos Anjos just burst back into the lightweight scene, and Chiesa has a big win over Dos Anjos. It's a little bit back now. Chiesa has a big win over Carlos Condit, who just had a win, and people are saying he should be fighting top 15. No, he had a win in between over Diego Sanchez, but that is what it is.
You can't really count that one.
No.
But this is the thing as well. You asked me last week was Carlos Condit to retire after fighting Matt Brown.
Yeah.
But that fight with Chiesa, Carlos Condit had 2 sub attempts that were close in the first round before then getting caught with a sub from Chiesa, and that was like a one-handed
specialist as well. Yeah,
and that was an interesting sub as well. It was a nasty shoulder lock. He did a one-handed Kimura, nasty shoulder lock. But I mean, could have easily gone the other way. I had Carlos Condit
up in the fight.
Yeah, like he could have been subbed with an armbar in the first round.
Yeah,
like he was very what's the word? Kind of lazy defending that early on.
See, I see that quite a bit with Chiesa though, and the one time he got caught bad with that was the Kevin Lee fight. I feel like Chiesa's happy to put himself in bad positions to try and then work to submissions himself. He feels so comfortable on the mat. He doesn't mind if you're throwing up for submissions because he's thinking 2-3 steps down the road. Again, like I say, he got caught bad against Lee and Lee submitted him. But I think if you go to the mat with Chiesa, it's a nightmare for, especially, you look at Magny. Magny's record is stellar, but I think if Chiesa can get in close and get a hold of him at all, Chiesa submits him.
I'm not sure whether he submits him, but okay, so the way I have it broken down is I think that grappling wise they're actually very similar. They use a lot of the same techniques, particularly body locks and kind of treading their legs in takedowns against defense and what have you there. Yeah. But Chiesa has a totally different level to Magny in grappling. Yeah, you're talking like as it was Joe Rogan said it against when Chiesa was fighting Diego Sanchez, that it looked like a black belt rolling with a blue belt.
Yeah.
And I think this would be like a black belt rolling with a purple belt in this case, in terms of the levels of grappling. Then striking wise, neither is. I don't think either really is potentially going to knock out the other. Magny is more of a kind of a volume striker.
And Chiesa just doesn't like to strike.
Yeah, Chiesa's just not a striker. So that's.
Then again, Andy Hickey put up a great tweet earlier today that if you look at the current state of the UFC and you're maybe a fan of the last 2 years, Jorge Masvidal and Chiesa fought before at lightweight. Chiesa knocked Jorge Masvidal down with an overhand strike, and Masvidal submitted Chiesa with I think it was an arm and guillotine or something like that. But you would completely have that the other way around now. Yeah. But so there is a little bit of power there. But I don't think it translated up to 170 when he made the move up.
Yeah, how did he ever make lightweight?
No idea. He is huge, 6'1" and a huge frame.
He just looks so thick at that. Like I mean, like he dwarfed, absolutely dwarfed Diego Sanchez. Now Diego Sanchez is small anyway.
Yeah,
he really should be a lightweight.
Diego Sanchez has fought at featherweight. mind you, Diego Sanchez has also fought at middleweight.
Yeah, but. He also like dwarfed RDA, and like RDA is a big lightweight, but he's a decent size welterweight.
Yeah,
looked tiny compared to Chiesa.
See, the thing with RDA though, RDA is 5'8", 5'9", so he was never the tallest.
Yeah, he's got that big ass on him,
but he's a unit at that height. But when you go in there against a guy who's 6'1", you're just going to look small. There's no way of hiding it. But this is the thing. Neil Magny's one of the bigger guys in that division. And you're going to see it. Chiesa's still going to look bigger than him.
Yeah. And there's definitely a frame differential there.
Yeah. Chiesa's just a big guy. To touch on Magny though, like, look, Magny's looked so impressive of late. He was the almost guy for so long. Then he started talking about recently that he was seeing a sports psychologist, and I want to talk to you about this a little bit, about the value in that. And he's looked very impressive. Beat Leach, beat Rocco Martin, beat Lawler, 3-5 win streak. He's a guy that seems to have come out of that win 1, lose 1, win 2, lose 2. That rhythm, do you know, he was the guy with so much potential before but could never get it done.
But he had a lot better win streak back in 2014, 2015. In both those years, he fought 5 times, going 4-1 in each year.
Yeah,
that was craziness. Like we talked about Kevin Holland being like a phenom for winning 5-0. He almost did, like Magny almost did it twice,
2 years in a row. Yeah, no, and he was so active, and I think that benefited him. Like he did have 4 fight win streaks, but it seemed like it was just activity. He once he got to a different hurdle, then it was gone again. But he'd come back out and fight a week later and win. And I don't know. I just think this version of Magny looks far better than even that version of Magny when arguably he was at his best fighting consistently. He just looks a little bit more motivated. And if you look at common opponents as well, they both fought Condit and Dos Anjos. They both beaten Condit. And Dos Anjos actually subbed Magny. So I don't know.
Ponzinibbio was in there as well for Magny. Ponzinibbio knocked him out in the fourth.
Yeah. I look, it's a tough one, but I just think if Chiesa gets a hold of him at all.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a decision for Chiesa.
A decision for Chiesa, I think he'll sub him. But talk to me about the sports psychology side of it, because is that a huge advantage to a fighter to be, especially a guy that was kind of, I would never call him a journeyman, but a guy that was going about and tipping away at his record. There was losses every couple of fights and every 3 or 4 fights. Is that the way to go to get yourself back on board, or do you have to have it in you anyway?
No, it's sports psychology is something that can be learned by anybody at any time. I mean, it's not anything like, it's not a secret weapon or anything. That it's like, most of it is very, very, very commonsensical, but it's just something that's kind of not. It's not even considered by the majority of fighters. Yeah. Until they go on a losing streak or they have a few bad performances or it becomes a kind of an obvious thing. Now the thing is about like fighters generally, if you have the kind of personality that makes you a fighter, you kind of have that kind of alpha male type aggression in you. Yeah. You probably have good psychology already. You probably have good self-belief. You're not afraid of aggression. You're not afraid of pain or anything like that. So generally speaking, fighters do have good psychology. Coming up against other alphas, it can then become like the differential factor. But I mean, like, what is sports psychology? Most of it is to do with holding yourself to a higher standard during your preparation. So you can't do a full fight camp and then bring in your sports psychology the day before the fight and win the fight with that. Yes, sports psychology happens at the beginning of a camp or over a period of multiple camps, and you start with things like controllables and non-controllables. So what can you control, what can't you control? So you have a lot of fighters that get stressed over what their opponents are doing. Yeah. So how am I going to game plan for this guy? What am I going to do if the fight is in Fight Island? What am I going to do about COVID? These are all things that you can't control. So there's no point in stressing over them. Yeah. And that's one of the first tenets of sports psychology. You focus on what you can control. What can you control? You can control your diet. You can control the amount of times you train in a day. You can control, your sleep patterns. You can control
what condition
your
you're
attitude.
In. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So you focus on the controllables. Then you have things like visualization, and you have. So there's no rocket science in there. But if there's anything at all lacking, if there's any sort of doubt, and you don't have, like, if there's any sort of doubt creeping in there, it will get you. It will get you. When the chips are down, it will get you. Because
this is what I want to ask. You're talking about doubt. Let's take the fight next weekend. Like, McGregor is the master of putting doubt into his opponent's heads. Mm-hmm. Dustin Poirier has already been knocked out by Conor McGregor. Mm. Surely there's doubt there.
Oh, 100% there's doubt. And like, there's no, as you said, there's no better example of somebody using sports psychology to beat somebody than McGregor. He is just an absolute genius when it comes to it. Like, he absolutely freaked out Dennis Seaver. He got inside Jose Aldo's head like we've never seen before. Like, he's just a master of it. And the thing as well is, like, that people will say that McGregor's got this natural sports psychology. He doesn't. Yeah. He doesn't have it naturally, because I know who initially worked with him on his sports psychology, and a lot of the phrases that McGregor uses in his
rhetoric,
promos, his rhetoric, it's all sports psychology. Yeah. It's all visualization. It's all manifesting what you're visualizing, and He talks about like one of his common answers to like, how can you be so confident in you? How are you so cocky? How are you this? And he says confidence comes with preparation.
Yeah.
So he's so confident because he knows he's put himself through the ringer.
Yeah.
And this comes back to the first fight, or the fight with Khabib. There was doubt in McGregor's head because he knows he was out partying.
But what I will also say is that, like, there's a lot of people that believe that McGregor, it was the first time that the psychological warfare didn't work. I think that the antics after 229 proved that McGregor was all of the inside Khabib's head. Now, it didn't affect his performance, but he was definitely inside his head. Because we wouldn't have seen that out of Khabib if there was a fairly relatively normal build up to it.
Yeah, no, he did get inside Khabib's head, but he was also inside his own head.
Yeah.
Do you know, the fact that he knew that he had like even he was drinking during the press conference. You know, he took a sip of whiskey and he finished that. Yeah. He finished that glass.
And he offered Khabib one and then finished Khabib's glass as well, if you remember.
One for me.
Yeah.
One for me. But just quickly on the comment section here, we have Clay Teal has said that he is definitely going to make 135 one day. What weight are you starting out at, Clay?
Clay. I've been following the weight loss, and I'm in full support of it. But 135 might be a stretch. If you make 135, I'll meet you down there, and we'll have a spar.
So Ben Van Gestel, I may have just murdered that poor man's name, but anyway, Ben has asked, how do you guys see Simone and Pirillo playing out? I got the Belgian pride in his UFC debut. So am I to assume there, Ben, that you're also of Belgian descent? Or would that be me racially profiling your name? Well, have I just created a faux pas there now?
No, not at all, because he did say, I've got the Belgian pride.
Oh, okay. Right. I was reading that wrong. I thought there was some reference to Pride FC or something.
No.
Okay.
No.
Just me having a brain fart. What did you say about that one?
I said it. Gaetano looks like a killer. He comes in there and he wants to finish people. Now, I haven't seen enough of him to say that I can be 100% sure he's going to win. And Ricky Simone is no joke. He's been in the UFC for a while. He's hung about there, and he's a winning record. He's 4-2. But if the Gaetano from the local scene comes in and fights in the UFC, if he's not affected by the big show, he's definitely got every chance of finishing him. Yeah.
So Ben has just confirmed that he is indeed from Belgium. So welcome. Are you listening in from Belgium? Are you over in the States? Or where are you about? Are you actually listening from Belgium now, Ben?
You know there's a thing called the internet that we're going out on at the minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they do have that in Belgium, I'm sure.
No, I know that. I'm just trying to.
All right.
I'm just trying to get. Jesus Christ. I'm just interested to see where our viewership is coming from.
I'd be interested to see if he's from Belgium, how many languages he speaks, because he's obviously got fluent English.
Mm-hmm. Well,
if you could answer that for us, Michael, because I'll be confident that he speaks French. I'd be confident that he speaks Belgian, which is a language, by the way, before people start jumping on me. And there's a chance he speaks German.
Yeah, viewing and listening from Belgium.
Let me know how many languages, bud.
How many languages do you speak, Ben?
I'm always impressed by these things. I have a cousin living in Luxembourg, and when he was 6 years old, he could speak 6 languages.
Yep.
Insane.
Absolutely.
And by the way, Luxembourgish is a language, for those of you that didn't know.
Trying to make MMA popular over here, and he speaks 3 languages.
3 languages, French, English, and Belgian, so I'm assuming. Just profiling this guy
Dutch,
today.
French, and English.
Oof. So you don't speak the native tongue? I know. It's kind of a colloquial thing there, as far as I know, though. It's not most people over there either speak French or there's like I was going to say a bastardized version of French, but I don't know. I'm probably wronging the thing altogether, but yeah, something like that.
I speak 1 language.
I'd be like, I don't speak Irish. I can't say shit.
But there's actually is this the second or third UFC fighter from Belgium there was another Belgian debut at the start of 2020, and I can't for the life of me remember who it was. But Ben probably will be able to answer that question for us anyway. But
Yeah, I can't think off the top of my head. I can't think of any off the top of my head that have fought in the UFC.
No, it was definitely another one. I like, because the Belgian flag stands out, you know.
Yeah.
So no, I definitely saw it. I just can't remember.
Very similar to the German one, just flipped on its side.
Just flipped on its side. They robbed it. Who robbed who? Anyway.
But yeah, going back to, if you don't mind for a few minutes, the McGregor and Poirier. Tarek Safadine.
There you go.
He's of Belgian descent, yeah.
Absolutely. There you go. Just we're learning loads off you here today, Ben.
Cheers, Ben. Yes. So what does Poirier do, psychology-wise, to get out of that mindset and to get in there and try and go in there as if it's an opponent he's never faced before? Is that the trick?
No, the trick is to the trick would be to visualize. It comes down to visualization. It comes down to understanding that, or framing it in that he was caught, and it could happen to anybody at any time. If he allows himself to believe that McGregor has his number and that every time they fight that McGregor will catch him, he's done.
Yeah.
If that's a belief that he's got, he's done. He has to have some sort of kind of belief in the fact that after he fought McGregor, he went on a tear at lightweight, loads of knockouts. You know, he had knockouts of his own in at featherweight as well. So he just has to believe and truly believe, not just say it, but he has to truly believe that that McGregor just caught him and that it's going to be different this time. There's not much in the way of kind of trash talking this time that McGregor's tried to bury him in a kind of a field of doubt. If anything, he's almost treating him like a kind of like a good little boy, and maybe.
But do you think that while this is all very friendly, now we'll see what happens on Thursday. That should be interesting. The press conference. I'm looking forward to that one. And Dan Hooker came out and said he doesn't want to be on McGregor's mind at all going into it. But it'll be interesting to see what he says on that. But he did say he's going to KO him inside 60 seconds.
Yep.
And now the first one was just inside 2 minutes. Do you think there's something in Poirier's head going, not this shit again? Don't be starting this again. Now, what I will say, as far as I know, and I'm definitely open to correction on this because I haven't researched it, but Poirier is 100% on rematches.
Yes, he's 2-0 on rematches, and he plans to make this 3-0. I heard that in one of the interviews. But I want to come back on what you said about it's all very nice at the moment. It is all very nice, but there is definitely posturing. There's still posturing going on there. Do you know? McGregor is saying, look, it has the kind of body language, and he's kind of power posing, and he's kind of like treating it as though he's giving Dustin a second chance, but it's not really a runner. We'll look after him. He's a nice guy. We're both fathers. We've come on along. But there's a certain kind of like I'm above you type of thing. There's levels to this game.
It's a handout almost.
It is, and it's done nicely. But if I was Poirier, I'd be getting pissed off about it as opposed to responding with niceness back.
Yeah.
In the same way as we talked about who was it? It was Sean Strickland against the Welsh fighter.
Yes, and he started talking shit to him in the cage. And
correct.
He never responded or gave him anything back.
Correct. Yeah. So he was taking it as if it was a mutually shared joke, when in actual fact he was on the butt of the joke. And I think this is the same with regards to the psychology here with McGregor Poirier. I think Poirier is making it as though he's got mutual respect, but I think McGregor has kind of dismissed him a little bit. Yeah,
it's very subtle mind game. So
yeah. So Ben says the same left hand will drop the diamond in the second round. Just my opinion. So you're going for a second round stoppage, Ben.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion it'll be late first round, early second round as well.
So here's my prediction, right?
The bold one.
Here's my prediction. It's going to be less than 30 seconds, and here's the reason why. McGregor is a perfectionist, and even though he had a sub 2 minute finish of him in the first fight, many people will say that was almost a flawless performance.
Yeah, he got tagged once or twice, but
got tagged once or twice. But McGregor will have been milling that over his head, over and over and over his head. And you know what he missed? The very first strike he missed was a hook kick to the head.
Yes.
Here's my prediction.
He hasn't thrown that in a while, though.
Here's my prediction. First strike, right leg, hook kick to the head, and he wants to land it. And I think that will be the beginning of the end.
Oof.
So there you go. Quote me on that one. And let's see.
So
let's see what kind of a muppet I am on Sunday.
Yeah, I was just going to say, tune in on Saturday night to see how wrong he is.
Kevin O'Sullivan is commenting in. I wonder if the arrival in the Bentley, the images of the thought is part of Connor's tactics this time. So Kevin asking like the flash of we say lots of money and stuff like that. Is that trying to kind of play him down a bit?
It could be. Like, I mean, even just we're arriving in on a yacht and all this carry on, and like you said, getting the Bentley up, and it's all about McGregor, and he knows it's going to be all about him as well. So he knows this has got to be eating away at Poirier. Like, I'm just the opponent. That's all I am.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ben says Poirier knows he is very dangerous in the very first strike. Love that prediction, though.
Yeah, I'm
can telling you, I'm standing by it, and Kevin O'Sullivan agrees with me.
Yeah, I can see what happens. In my opinion, is that McGregor does like the cowboy fight. He comes out with fire, but expect Poirier just to almost sidestep a couple of times real fast, like you wouldn't a warm up, just to shake off that first 20 seconds. I don't see Poirier trying to even engage in the first 30 seconds for that reason. He watched the cowboy fight. He watched how devastating he can be in the first 30 seconds. I think he'll just try and avoid any kind of back and forth in the first 20 seconds. I could be wrong as well. Maybe he wants to go out and, like he said, he wants a war. I'd be very interested to see what happens tomorrow night in the press conference, or Thursday night, in the press conference. And we'll get a better idea, I think, of where both their mindsets are at, especially Poirier.
Do you think he'll back off long enough to get past the 60-second prediction and then fight, just so that he'll have beaten Mystic Mac?
Very possibly.
He doesn't want to give Conor the win of like predicting
under a minute. Yeah. But what the only thing about that is McGregor's a master of cutting off the cage. You'll sidestep a few times and he'll be back in your face in seconds. And I don't think Poirier is the kind of guy to make it appear like he's running away from him either. Like, to dip out to the side and avoid a flurry of strikes, fair enough, but he's not going to run away for a minute. So I do see him engaging 20-second mark, 30-second mark. He might even come in. You wouldn't know. He might even come in and try and take him down in that first round just to...
Yeah, interesting.
Just to stop that. But either way, I just think that, like people are saying, the longer the fight goes, the better for Poirier. I don't see it going past the second round, unfortunately. I would love it to go 5 rounds and be an absolute war.
What's he going to have to do? What's McGregor going to have to do in order to impress Khabib if Khabib is looking for something special?
A finish doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Because Khabib's just going to go, yeah, well, you've done that before. It's just not going to do it. I think the only thing here that impresses Khabib is a 5-round war that McGregor comes out in top 4-1, 5-0. That's the way to do it. A Max Holloway style, just
a beatdown.
Yeah, but McGregor isn't going to beat down Poirier because he'll put him away.
Yeah, he doesn't draw out his beatings like.
No, he knocks people down too much. There's too much power in his hands to be pitter pattering anyone, and his strikes are too clinical. It's just never going to happen.
There was a funny tweet, all right, that we someone had a meme that this week is Khabib Nurmagomedov's Contender Series. So he's out looking for a fight. Yeah,
that he is. He may have found it. Huh?
The Bronx versus Khabib. Ben asking.
I like that fight, but I just think there's, as much as Charles has probably earned the title fight, there's a couple of bigger fights out there for Khabib. If it's going to be his last one, it's got to be huge. It's got to be huge. Imagine him riding off into the sunset after beating Charles Oliveira. And don't get me wrong, Charles will be a tough matchup for him, but if he rides off into the sunset after beating Charles Oliveira, then you're back to the position again of who's next, and they've all fought a couple of times, and it'll be back to, should we do a tournament again? I think fight one of the guys that's right up there right now, and make big money for everyone, and then give Charles his shot.
I think Charles is just suffering from not having the big name.
Yeah, and
I mean, if he was somebody that could trash talk, he'd already have his shot.
Yeah,
and that, unfortunately, that's just that's the nature of the entertainment business within MMA.
He should have got it by now, but the problem is, because this is such a kind of an unprecedented. There's only one more fight, if any. It's got to be a big name. It just has to be.
I don't see it being anybody other than McGregor, I'll be honest.
Oh, I think Max threw his hat in the ring.
Yeah, I agree. That is definitely an interesting fight. I just don't think it's going to happen.
And see, Khabib tweeted that, or maybe not tweeted or whatever, but he commented that Max Holloway could yet be the GOAT. He doesn't believe he's in his prime yet.
Yes, I did see that. Yeah, good point. Good point.
Yeah, that would nearly indicate that he's dismissing that fight, though, for me. Because if he was going to put that out there and then go, well, I'm going to smash him, that rules out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? This is kind of more one of these, keep working away there, bud. As opposed to, you're next for a legend fight. Or
another example of a backhanded compliment.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't see us getting past this McGregor rematch. And I don't even think it matters if McGregor wins like with a spectacular win or not. It's going to be I predict it's going to be a win for McGregor. I could be wrong, but let's go with that for a second.
Yeah.
The pressure from Dana is going to be too much. Dana wants it, UFC wants it, and McGregor pulls the strings because he is the draw that he is. It's a business. Doesn't matter who deserves it or not. It's just going to happen that way.
If Khabib's riding off into the sunset and they want one more, it's going to be huge. Huge money. And that's all they care about. Charles Oliveira doesn't do that, unfortunately for him.
Unfortunately for him. Unfortunately for us too, because that would be a good fight.
Yeah. Love to see that fight.
Although Khabib will just smash him.
See, I always said then that I always believed there was one guy in the lightweight division that would topple Khabib, and that was Tony Ferguson. I just thought when it gets to the mat, he's too tricky for him. And he's too tricky on the feet. But then I said, and I was proved right in this, because I said all the elite strikers, your Conor McGregor, your Justin Gaethje, and your Dustin Poirier, would all beat Ferguson. And I've kind of been proved right in that regard. He just can't hang there with elite strikers. But Charles Oliveira finished Ferguson on the ground, so maybe he's that guy.
Could be.
Maybe he's that guy.
Or else we've overestimated Tony Ferguson's jiu-jitsu.
No. I don't think so. Eddie Bravo is giving you evils from whatever screen he's watching on. He's definitely not watching. My face. Yeah.
Throw the Imanari roll. Yeah.
So I suppose next up we're going to be back maybe Friday.
Yep.
For a preview, a quick review of this card.
Yeah.
And a preview of 257, and we might have a guest co-host as well.
Oh, cool. Who's that?
Someone got on to me.
Oh, really?
They're interested in doing an in-studio guest co-host, la.
Oh, nice. Nice. Do I have to ask, or do you want to leave it as a secret?
It's of Blood and Bandage fame.
Oh, really? Nice.
Mr. David Doran.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
We'll have a bit of fun. Look, it'll be a back and forth between the three of us. If he's available on Friday, we'll get it
awesome.
done. So.
Awesome. Excellent. So we'll wrap it at that. Thanks to everybody for joining in with the comments. Thanks to Ben for educating us on the languages and the Belgian fighters that in the UFC roster. Clay, keep going, boy. I believe in you. You will make that 35 division. I believe in you. Don't mind what Paul says. And Kevin, we're of a kindred spirit. That hook kick is coming. Saturday night, that hook kick is coming for you in less than 30 seconds.
We'll discuss in further detail on Friday anyway.
There you go. All right, guys. Thanks a million for listening. Thanks a million for watching. I'm after losing my music trial here, but bear with me.
And be sure to like and subscribe as well.
I want to fight with Chuck. Chuck.
I think he just blew his wad there.
Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck.
Are you still drunk right now? Are you still drunk? I went, what's going on?
This is blue shit.
Frank Mir had a horseshoe up his ass. I pulled that sumbitch out and I beat him over the head with it.
You can't stop this Iberian Express. Choo-choo, motherfuckers.
If he was a girl, you would say he has a badonkadonk.
I'm cool with all the gods.